Okay, so here in this snail archive that we've been practicing with here for a while, we now gonna take a look at strategies, how we can do this in Mari 7.5. But before we do that, I wanna take a look at what I did back in the day before 7.5, where we can patch materials more easily. So essentially here I have a 2D version of a material and a 3D version. So the 2D version here obviously will apply in 2D space, and I can do repeats here, and you see here it essentially applies material depending on how I'll tile this. If I take this material, it's essentially the same material except it's a 3D version and it's using 3planar. So some aspects is actually nicer from the 3D version. The 2D version wraps with the forms a bit better. What I did here was essentially to use the 2D in the bottom, and I am multi-merging a 3D version, and I'm using a blend mask here set to black when I start to paint this. So here, if I mask this in there and look through this node, we can now start to look here. Where do we see seams? Oh, I see one there. I'm just gonna paint this one away, and maybe I want to bridge something here. There's definitely one seam here. So depending on what type of map, the brush, I might need to have a bit of a softer fade there. And this is how I went around the asset and looked at places where I wanted to swap out details, etc. So that's one way to do it. In Mari 7.5, we're gonna look at other alternative ways to do this. Okay, so here in Mari 7.5, we're gonna take a look here how we can patch materials now using Multipaint. I'm gonna create a Multipaint, okay, drop it down here. I'm gonna attach it here to my multi-channel merge and take a look here. So nothing is happening here. I'm gonna go into my Multipaint tab here. We can see it there. What I'm gonna do here is I've already prepared here. So essentially I have a group here that contains all of the material images that is actually contained in this material. So if I double click on this one and go down here, we can see these are the material images that is tiled across this. I have a group, and I'm just gonna drag this one in here into this Multipaint tab here. And it hooks up all of the streams here. I essentially can now start to paint out these imperfections here. For example, we see a seam there. I'm just gonna filter down here. If I now hit the U button, so I get the paint through tool. Now here with all of the streams ready to go here, I can now start to paint out. I need some repeat here as well onto my painting there. Let's see here. Maybe I want that over there. And for example here, you can see here I am now painting out this one there. But I can also now go in, for example here, once I painted, and deform my paint here as a material. Like this. If I, for example, want to change direction of my paint before I bake it down, like so. See here, somewhere else, this one looks a bit suspicious. I need to do something there as well. So yeah, it's a really nice way now to actually go in here and patch materials. There's some caveats. If you have a material where you have overrides internally, the image set will not match if you start to grade it. So you might want to split out grading as a separate stream after the actual material is combined. And that's something we will look at in the next episode, how we can do that. Okay, so here in the corner, I'm now linking a playlist where you can see the previous episodes.